Now G.I. Joe have Tiger Force. Captured Cobra vehicles repainted and rearmed.
Tiger Force, showing the colors yellow and black. Hungry to fight and ready to attack.
Tiger Paw, Tiger Fly, Tiger Shark, and Tiger Cat are ready for combat.
Nobody beats G.I. Joe, the Action Force.
Hello and welcome to the Generals Reviews. I'm Chris McLeod, aka Diagnostic 80 from the Full Force podcast, and I'm joining Justin Bell from What's on Joe Mind and GeneralsJoes to bring you this review of the G.I. Joe Collectors Club FSS 4 Tiger Force Outback. Before Justin takes a look at the figure, let's go into the history of the character from his first appearance through to now. Stuart R. Selkirk, or Outback, is one of those rare iconic characters that has more than one iconic look. You get this when major characters are redesigned like Duke, Snake Eyes and Cobra Commander, but Outback was always a fringe character that blew up in popularity when his first toy hit the shelves in the US in 1987. There wasn't any character out at the time like Outback. His speciality was very niche, a survival training instructor, which meant he had to be even more badass than the current Joes. He was able to deal with terrible conditions in a t-shirt with survival written on it. He looked different to a lot of the Joes as well, muscular build, big orange hair and beard, and a headband no less. Think Kenny Rogers falling into a tangerine candy floss machine. His accessories were cool, a massive backpack and web gear, no-nonsense rifle and a flashlight, gotta make sure I pronounce that right, that clipped into his left thigh. This, added with the comic appearances around the same time period, really established Outback as a beloved character, especially in collector circles. In the comic, Outback was first seen in issue 59, but it wasn't until the arc in Barovia that covered issues 61 to 67 where people really became enamoured with the character. He was one of a team of Joes consisting of Snowjob, Stalker and Quick Kick that had been left out to dry by the government in the war-torn dictatorship of Barovia. Outback escapes under Stalker's orders and the rest of the team are thrown in the gulag. Outback is debriefed by the Pentagon who deny him from talking about the situation, which in turn leads to a frosty reception by his colleagues who all thought he abandoned his teammates, and it's not until they all get out in return that the truth comes out and Outback is finally accepted by the other Joes again. This created a real compassion by readers for Outback and helped to build his intriguing character. His second toy appearance came in the form of a Night Force repaint in 1988. His shirt was grey with dark green sleeves and his pants were the same grey as the shirt. He still rocked the orange hair and beard at this stage, that will make sense shortly, and his accessories were repainted in black. He still had survival written across his chest, only this time it was harder to make out on the dark shirt. He came packaged with Crazy Legs and a Toys R Us exclusive 2-pack, just like all the other Night Force figures in the line. He was a cool repaint, but certainly not the repaint that he has become known for and indeed more popular because of. That leads us to the figure that the FSS 4 version is based on. European exclusive, eat that American scum, Tiger Force Outback. One of two Euro exclusives in 1990, along with Psych Out, that I had no idea our mutinous cousins across the pond never got a hold of at retail, until I ventured out of my teens and into the post-dial-up real internet years. I absolutely loved this figure. Us Brits had a touch of confusion as our original Action Force carded Outback had a different place of birth to this new Tiger Force chap. We had always been under the impression Outback was Scottish, hailing from Stirling. However, we now had a new birthplace for him in Big Piney, Wyoming. The same place stated on his US file card. Confusion aside, the big talking points on this repaint are as follows. 1. New blue headband. 2. A giant cat face on an orange t-shirt. 3. Brighter brown camo pattern on the pants. 4. A deeper shade of brown for the accessories. And 5. Oh yeah, his hair, beard and eyebrows are white. This happened with a number of the Tiger Force characters both here and in the US, but Outback's new shade of white pretty much aged the guy by about 20 years over just 2. Now he is Kenny Rogers, or my favourite, Michael McDonald. He saw no love in the comics apart from a really cool full-page intelligence profile in the 1991 G.I. Joe The Action Force annual. I would have loved to have seen Tiger Force explored in more of the comic stories, but alas, we only get the one Special Missions comic that doesn't include the Euro repaints, and the written story Action of the Tiger in the same annual already mentioned that highlights Outback and Psych Out in the story and in some related artwork. This version's popularity has soared recently and is a highly sought after figure, complete or carded. You just have to look into the audience at a panel at JoeCon to see the large amount of orange kitty shirts looking back at you. Terrifying. Overall, there are 12 versions of Outback throughout the line if you include the Euro exclusive Tiger Force figure and the Brazilian Força Electronica figure, Forasteiro. I feel they do need to be included due to the different card backs and significant impact in the fandom. Forasteiro was pretty much identical to Tiger Force Outback, only with a slightly different lighter paint scheme. Estrella released their version of Outback with the Sonic Fighters backpack in 1993, the same year that we get the next version of the figure who is intended to be included in the Eco Warriors sub-team. That was scrapped, and so we get this new Doozer Outback on a Battle Core card. You can tell from the awesome paint scheme that he was going to be in the Eco Warriors. In the very same year again, this new Outback was released on the same card to match the card art colour scheme. Certainly not my favourite version of the character, but pretty cool nonetheless. We don't get any other figures for the Joe Survival Specialist until 2008. Damn! We get a complete redesign again for the fourth wave of the direct-to-consumer line, and now he's got a vest on. Dude doesn't do long sleeves at all. Made up from Major Barrage, but with a new long-haired head sculpt, he looked more like a Dreadnought than a Joe. It would also appear that Hasbro lost the trademark for Outback as his name and changed to Stuart Outback Selkirk, and that trend continues to this day. In 2009 we get the first modern era Outback included in the Flat Cannon and Cobra Claw Internet exclusive 2-pack that also included the Air Viper Commando version 2. He was modelled on the original figure and used a number of other parts with a new head, lower legs and feet. The same figure build was repainted in his Night Force colours and stuffed into a really cool 7-pack entitled Assault on Cobra Island. The box set also included Chuckles version 3, Hit and Run version 2, Recondo version 6, SPC Altitude, Wetsuit version 10 and Zap version 5. In 2014 at JoeCon in Dallas, Texas we got another Outback, and this time with Snowjob's head sculpt and a bevy of pre-existing parts. A weird decision, but it kind of fits with the whole zombie apocalypse angle that the club were aiming for, and was part of that Zombie Initiative box set that also included Clean Sweep version 2, 2 Cobra Lab Rats, Flint version 22, Ozone version 5, Repulsor, Steel Brigade Commander version 2, Chabang version 2, 3 version 3 Toxo Vipers, and 3 version 2 Toxo Zombies. Okay, I won't bother going into any details with this new FSS4 Tiger Force figure because Justin will do that, and I also won't talk about the new Hasbro version of the character because we will cover him in a later video coming soon. So that's all of them. Now go look at Bell's new sexy background. He's bringing sexy back. Ground.
This is Justin from GeneralsJoes.com with another Generals Joe Intel. I know it's been quite a while and we're actually going back in time a little bit. I'm looking back at the figure subscription service, the final installment from the G.I. Joe Collectors Club. These have been in collectors' hands for quite a while now, at least a couple months probably. But, you know, I'm a little bit behind the 8 ball, so I'm taking a look at the final 3 FSS figures that we received, which would have been Stuart Outback Selkirk, Tiger Force Sneak Peek, Tiger Force Outback, Tiger Force Sneak Peek, and Carla Doc Greer. Those 3 figures I actually never covered in a video review, so I'm going to change that today. You'll see a few other things have changed up a little bit. I am trying a new backdrop. I'm trying to make things a little bit more, more exciting, more interactive. But we're going to follow the formula and take a look first at Tiger Force Outback. This video will focus on Tiger Force Outback specifically, something that's near and dear to our friend Chris's heart, who helps me with these videos, the guy from the Full Force podcast. He is from the United Kingdom. These Tiger Force releases were obviously European exclusives. So obviously it's something that he is interested in. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he does with this particular episode to work some of his magic on it. I've got the figure here, but I generally start off by at least taking a look at the artwork. And the packaging is pretty similar to what we're used to. Very vintage inspired, a much similar pose as the original 1987 version of Outback. But you can see it's got the great Tiger Shirt deco, the nice little explosion card back that we're all familiar with, and the pretty nice artwork on the back. One thing that's a little bit different here, and Chris, I'm sure will correct me if I'm wrong, but my impression is that in the Action Force series, they actually made these characters different characters entirely. And what I believe the G.I. Joe Collectors Club is doing is they are taking the United States, the American characters, and just making them Tiger Force figures, which means their fire cards are going to necessarily be a little bit different than they were in the United Kingdom. So as you can see, this looks much more typical of the regular Outback file card, only with the Tiger Force deco. But it's a cool touch anyway. I kind of like how the G.I. Joe Collectors Club especially kind of took this Outback character and developed him through their comics, through their convention comics, and through their monthly newsletter. Gave him a reason to have his hair color change. He was a victim of a zombie attack and survived the zombie attack and didn't have any ill effects, although it changed his hair color, which is kind of a neat twist. But you can kind of see how they've taken this story and, found a reasonable reason for Outback's hair color to change, but for them to maintain that it's still the Outback character that domestic collectors are familiar with. The artwork is very nice, really presents the figure well, and we'll take a look at the figure itself. And here he is. Here is Outback. He is Tiger Force Outback. He was originally released in the UK, or in Europe, I should say, back in the 80s as a repaint for the domestic, the American version of Outback. He was uniquely tied into the European Tiger Force, which was much more kind of oranges and browns and blues, rather than the yellows and browns and blacks and greens of the American version. And you can really see that in this figure. He's got the brown and green camo pants. He's got the nice orange shirt. And I really love the white hair. That was kind of a distinctive look of the European version. And what's really cool about this version of Outback is they actually commissioned a brand new head sculpt. It looks really nice. The head sculpt is well done. Well done. Intricately sculpted beard and the hair that kind of flows over the headband, that distinctive blue headband. And of course, the most infamous, part of this European exclusive Outback is the pattern of the tiger on his shirt, which is a really nice touch. And it's kind of one of the things that has made Tiger Force Outback who he is. It's one of his distinctive traits, so obviously it makes sense that they keep it intact in this version. And he comes with everything you see here. Comes with his machine gun, comes with his knife, his little web gear, and his backpack. And he looks good. A lot of people have kind of complained about his size. They consider Outback to be kind of a larger figure, which I don't blame them. In 1987, when Outback was first released, he was really released with kind of those bulging biceps and a much larger kind of buck in his torso. He did look a lot bigger compared to some of the earlier releases, so I could see why people kind of translate that to modern era and think that this version of the figure should be so much bigger as well. So yeah, I can see why people might think that. If you take off his backpack, you can see he's got the tiger pattern on his back, which is pretty cool. I'm hoping the camo pattern, you can kind of see it there, matches the vintage version pretty nicely. Now, speaking of the vintage version, the G.I. Joe Collectors Club kind of elected to, beyond the newly tooled head, go kind of a more of the same route, which is sometimes decisions that I don't necessarily agree with. They did give Outback some new arms, but beyond that, they kept him with his 25th anniversary style torso and legs, which, I'll be honest, I'm not a huge fan of. Here's the version of the 25th anniversary Outback that came with the flak back in the day, if you consider 2008, 2009 back in the day. And as you can see, for the most part, the torso and the legs are the same. And I know why they did it. They did it mostly because of this little flashlight. The removable flashlight was kind of a trademark of the original Outback. And, they did that special tooling probably for the 25th anniversary version. They want to maintain that with this version. I can see why they did it. The parts, unfortunately, look kind of dated at this point. Thankfully, they did give him the new arms, so he isn't stuck with these 25th anniversary Flint arms, which are kind of obnoxious. So he's got the better, I think it's like 30th anniversary Law or one of those figures. Much better short-sleeved arms with the better improved wrist joints that actually, move up and down. So that's good. So they did make improvements there, and yes, he does have a new head sculpt. So all in all, while he is mostly the same figure, he does have some nice changes that separate him a little bit. Because I'm not sure if it's because the legs are from older tooling or not, but unfortunately, mine, I don't know if this is true of all of them, has some flimsy, you can kind of see it's got a little gap there. The lower legs are pretty flimsy. I'm a little afraid that they're going to pop right out. I don't think that's an ongoing problem. I might be unique in that regard, lucky me. But whatever the case may be, I do feel like I should at least mention that for anybody who's got the same figure. I want to just be careful of that. I already did a little comparison shot. You see this Outback compared with the 25th anniversary version here. There was one other 25th anniversary version as well, right here. And you can see they're all, the first two are obviously direct repaints. The newer version is a little bit updated. The head sculpt is miles better. I really do like the head sculpt they went with here. I think it looks very nice. Nicely updated with more modern sculpting. And then, of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't include good old Zombie Hunter Outback, who was a convention exclusive figure and is interestingly kind of where the Tiger Force version of Outback kind of got his, like I said, got his white hair. And even this figure, you can tell, is a bigger figure. They use the Pursuit of Cobra Recondo tooling to kind of make him stockier and larger. And then you have this updated version, and he's once again skinnier and smaller. So I can see why collectors are a little bit sketchy on that. But really, I think that's kind of a minor complaint. I think the figure, all in all, is a decent figure. It's not fantastic. It doesn't blow me away. I'm not wild about the 25th anniversary legs and torso. They are somewhat under-sculpted, under-detailed compared to some of the newer product. Even compared to like the head sculpt itself, there's less detail there, and it does kind of stand out a little bit. But the unique European Tiger Force deco makes up for that. He's got some decent accessories, the backpack, the machine gun, the knife, some really nice stuff there. The packaging is good. And as we kind of prepare for the next generation of the figure subscription service, I figured I should round these off and get these wrapped up. So here is your European exclusive Tiger Force Outback, also known as Stuart Outback Selkirk. And this came in the final shipment of FSS 4, which, like I said, was actually released a couple of months ago, but I've been woefully late in posting video reviews. I'm still behind the ball on a lot of my written reviews, too, so I'm hoping to catch that up a little bit. For those of you who don't realize, I am also a self-published author, and I've been working on my third novel, and that has really kind of consumed most of my life. So anyway, not that you care, but here is Tiger Force Outback Selkirk. Thanks to the G.I. Joe Collectors Club. Big thanks to Chris, Diagnostic 80 McLeod, for helping out with these videos, as he always does. This was Justin from GeneralsJoes.com. To see written reviews, please head on over to GeneralsJoes.com and check out the written reviews for the G.I. Joe Collectors Club figures, as well as the upcoming 2016 G.I. Joe figures, news, and exciting stuff from the world of G.I. Joe. Thank you very much for watching.
Thanks for watching this review by Justin Bell of GeneralsJoes.com and What's on Joe Mind, and from myself, Chris McLeod, aka Diagnostic 80 from the Full Force. If you've enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and let us know what you think on any of our numerous social networking platforms. Goodbye, and see you next time for another Generals Review.